with you
Good.
guys.
There you
I
go.
want to share something with you guys, and I highly encourage you to start looking at these, right? So George and I had some pretty lengthy conversations this week. We've had a lot of conversations this week, and we're trying to pull together some more collaboration and community, and you know, as we grow, it gets a little bit more difficult, especially, you know, when we're all in different areas, right? So I bring this to you because it's value. And here's what it is. Workplace. I'm on Workplace quite a bit. I'm interacting with people on Workplace a lot. All right. And EXP offers so much that we're not taking advantage of what is offered because we get on these calls, and that's great. But I want you guys to start engaging in Workplace. And here's one segment of Workplace I want you to really dive into and join the page. Okay. EXP Family Tree. EXP Family Tree. I really encourage you guys to join in on that page. By the way, there's 9,000 EXP agents on that page. Thank you, Claire. EXP Family Tree. Now, Elizabeth Riley, Rich Tomasini, Mitch Rybak, and a few others started this collaboration of EXP Family Tree, and I've done stuff on there with Rich. I've been I'm in dialogue with a lot of people that are very high up with EXP that I've never even met. I interact with a lot of people on there. Now, in the pinned post of EXP Family Tree, there's a calendar of masterminds. There's a calendar of training. Let me tell you, the masterminds that Elizabeth Riley puts together 4 times a month is a must. Because when she does the mastermind, she has the top EXP agents and teams on this mastermind with her. The top. I mean, we're talking, you know, a Dan Bear, we're talking some of the best, you know, not on just now, but by the way, I want you guys to think about this. It's not about, the masterminds are not about recruiting. The masterminds are about growth in your business. So EXP Family Tree, join that page, go to the pinned post. And again, I highly, highly encourage, if I'm getting on it, if Steve Pugh's getting on it, if other people on these calls are getting on it, you need to as well. There's so much. So you don't hear a Tom, a Max, a Fred, you're getting to hear these amazing other people with our company that can pour into you exactly what you're looking to hear. Because, you know, when you hear Tom every week and week in and out, and Claire and DJ and Curtis and Debbie, it sounds repetitious, right? When I ran a market center and I had a team meeting with over 100 people, and then I seen it fall to 80, I brought in a speaker, it went back up to 100. They don't want to hear from me all the time. You guys may not want to hear from me all the time. So I want to bring you something of value today, and that is EXP Family Tree inside a Workplace. Okay. If you are a builder or a leader, labeled a builder or a leader through EXP, through attraction, there's actually masterminds in your group. So Lizette, you're part of the builders group or the leaders group. If you go into Workplace, Frank Panuto and Amy Weaver and Sean Murphy, they do mastermind calls there. Deep, something that, I don't know if you get on those at all. Steve Pugh will call me and go, Tom, I got to hit my goal. I got to report my numbers to Frank. You know, so anyways, there's a lot of leverage pieces in Workplace that we're underutilizing. Here's the other thing. Workplace chat, and this isn't a training session. This is just something that's been top of mind for me. I sat with a group of people on Wednesday and said, here's all the things that you have with EXP. And they're like, holy cow, why do I even call you then? I said, I just want you to have all the information. So on Workplace Chat, no matter what state you're in, you can chat with your broker. You can call your broker. You can have a video call with your broker. So Workplace Chat, always remember, you have full ability to reach anyone in this company. Anyone. Try sending Glenn a message and see if you get a message. It might not be right away, but it might be a day or two later. So anyways, I just highly encourage you guys to get into Workplace, get into EXP Family Tree, join the page, go to pin post. How many people on this call right now? We got 32 people, and then I'm going to dig in a second. How many people on this call have gotten referrals through our group alone? Lizette, Claire. All right, some of you, Liz, absolutely, Liz, and Tiffany, many through what? How many referrals have you gotten through the GPS group of maybe a buyer or a seller? You know, given referrals. That's right, Robert's given referrals. I've given referrals. Imagine getting into the EXP Family Tree with 9,000 agents, and you're on these calls with them and these masterminds with them. And again, on your name, you put your name, Daytona Beach. Okay, so now I got Tom Martin, Daytona Beach. So let's say someone on that call has someone in the Daytona Beach area. They're going to go, holy cow, I need to call Tom. All right, just something. Somebody brought that up on one of our calls one time and said we should put the city or the state we work in on our signature. So Ken, he has Boca, Realtor Boca area on his, and Tim has his phone number up there. Paola has South Florida. If I pronounced her name incorrectly, I apologize. So anyways, EXP Family Tree, okay? DJ dropped the truth bomb. Uh-oh, what happened? Tim McGuire. Oh, yes, that was DJ. That's right, Tim. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to dig in. All right, so guys, I talk with agents every day, every single day. And I'm not talking about talking to agents on showing a property. I talk to agents that are either struggling or thriving in their business. They're either struggling or they're thriving, right? There's not an in-between. They're either struggling or they're thriving. The struggling say everything's great. The ones thriving say everything's great. You just have to dig deeper in the questions to find out who's really struggling versus thriving, right? So I had a meeting with two agents yesterday, and I heard the exact same story, just different words, okay? And here's what was happening. So back in 2000, and I want to say it was 2000, it was 2009, I think it was. And I said to Michael, which was my mentor, my coach, and someone I had a lot of respect for, I said, Michael, I have 5 deals on the contract. All 5 are falling apart. I was emotionally a mess. I'm like, I have to pay bills. The market crashed. I'm just pulling myself out of this devastation. And he goes, what's the problem? You don't have enough properties on the contract. Go get 10 on the contract. So if 5 fall through, you got 5 closings. And he said, by the way, whose money is involved in the transaction before you get paid? It's the buyer and the seller. He said, so what's the problem here? You're getting too emotionally involved in the transaction because you're in need of a paycheck. You're in need of getting compensated. So you're putting yourself first, not them. And it took me some time to process that. So here's what I did. I at all times had to have 10 properties under contract per month to close 4 or 5. Yes, you heard it. Now, the market crashed. Homes were sitting on the market for over a year. And I had to have 10. See, there's a exercise that you can do. It's called listings needed to achieve your goal. So you know how many listings you need at all time. At that time, I needed 25 active listings to achieve my goal. And there's so many tools out there. So I'm getting to the story here in a second. So Michael embedded that in my head. And then as I was getting coached by Debbie Frapp and Amanda Light, they always said, stop being emotionally attached to the outcome and just be emotionally connected. It's not about you. So I'm like, whoa, boom. So I used to talk about this in my sales meetings all the time. Don't be emotionally attached to the outcome. How can you do that? You're heartless. You're this, you're that. I said, no, it's not your money. It is a business transaction. It is a business sale. And you have to keep it strictly business, not emotionally attached to the outcome. You can be connected. I can relate, but you can't be attached. Because once you become emotionally attached, you miss other opportunities because you're blinded by other business. When you become emotionally attached and you have an issue, you stop lead generating. You got to fix everything. When you're emotionally attached, you're saying no to the things that are important to grow your business. So when that registered with me, I thrived. I thrived. And I never once had a customer saying, you're heartless. How come you're not supporting me emotionally? They don't want your emotional support. They want your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. That's what they want. It's a business transaction. So I thought this would be a great topic because right now, lots of agents are getting emotionally attached because they're in a desperate situation or a need of the commission, right? So they're getting commission breath and they're not staying emotionally connected and taking the emotion out of the business. A deal doesn't close, they want to go yell at the lender and they want to yell at the title company. No. No. What really happened here? How do we resolve it? Be a solution maker, not an emotional wreck and go and cry to everyone. What do I do? What do I do? Oh my gosh, they have no place to live. That's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's not my fault. It's not my problem. I'm not being heartless, but I never put them in that situation. Well, Tom, what do we do? I'm like, it's not your problem. They got to figure that out. That's not your job. Right? And this was a conversation I had yesterday. He goes, Tom, they don't have a place to go. They're staying in and out of hotels. I said, that's not your problem. He's too emotionally attached. I had to pull him away from that. And he got a little frustrated with me. You don't understand. No, I understand. It's not your problem. Right? So I asked Deep, and I want this to be a mastermind for all of you guys to collaborate on what is best practices to avoid the emotionally attached versus the connected and strictly business. Deep. So I'm reaching out to Deep and put him on the spot and immediately. And I know Ali Partovi's on here. I'm going to call on Ali too, because there's these two individuals I know keep a total business transaction versus an emotional. And Deep, what is your take on the emotional attachment and the emotional the connection attachment versus the business transaction?
First of all, it takes practice every day. You know, we are humans, we are connected to our buyers, we're connected to our sellers, we connect to damn transactions. So it's a struggle every day. You know, my conversations with my team is always, we had a deal fall apart 2 days ago. I'm like, okay, I let my business partner do the pity party for 1 minute. And I said, what's the solution? What do we do now? What do we fix? How do we take our emotions out of this deal and say, we're going to put it back on the market, call everybody else, work a little differently. There are a couple of people on this call who call me all the time. I'm not going to call Liz's name out, but
But you did.
I'm gonna kick
oh,
your ass,
sorry.
but I love you too.
Love you too. And sometimes she calls me and she's like, this is what it is. This is what it is. I'm like, whoa, hold off. Take your emotions out. She's like, what do you mean by that? I said, you're so invested in this. It's not the commission, Brett, on that when it comes to her, but it's so much into my buyer, my seller. I said, but how do you control the scenario? How do you control the lender? How do you control the buyer who's fraudulent? How do you control all those aspects of the deal? I think the biggest thing in 19 years I've learned from this business is when you start thinking this is your problem, becomes your problem. When you think it's a team effort, when there's a buyer involved, seller involved, title company involved, lender involved, you find solutions, simple solutions. And you create a checklist. Like if Alina tells me we got a problem, we got to fix this, we got to negotiate this, the deal's going to fall apart. I listen to exactly what's going on. I walk away for 10 minutes and she's hovering like a bee around me as if I have a solution right away. I don't. I think I'll make a list. What do we do here? That could fix. This is fixed. That's fixed. If you've tried every aspect of everything and then it still doesn't happen, it wasn't meant to be, guys. I know it's easier for me. I know everybody will be thinking, oh, it's easier for you to say you got enough closings happening. So, you know, we're chasing the first deal or every deal a month. It's not. Because you are doing justification to your buyer or your seller when you're emotionally involved in this deal, and at the same time, you are not going to be able to focus on anything else, not your family life, not your friend life, not your other clients, because you're so drained with that one thing.
Yeah. So, and we're seeing a lot more of that going on right now, Deep, where the agents are happy they got it on the contract and they're so focused on that one deal or two deals close going through that they stop doing everything else, lead generation, they stop their lead follow-up, they stop building their database, they stop all that, right? And then what happens is they're now depending on those two deals. And then what happens is they get emotionally attached and the emotions get in the way with logic, right? The emotions get in the way of solution making. The emotions start, it's this cloud. It's preventing you from seeing, how do I create a solution for that? All right, we're in a situation. How do we create the solution? Liz, I seen you just bounced your hand down, so I'm going to call Lizette. Lizette, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that I'm always constantly talking about in our team meetings is connecting what we're saying with what we're really doing. And so, very important, you actually have to stop at the beginning of the day, midday and afternoon, and really think about what you did in the last 3 hours. Was it supposed to be what you had on your schedule? So we're talking about the example of the case of it's all happened to us, right? So we do our business plans at the beginning of the year. We're like, we're going to do 4 closings a month. But when it gets time to it, we get this file that you're talking about. And then what we do is we're supposed to lead gen 3 hours. And then we stop lead genning because the client texts you. Then what we do is we start calling agent 1, 2, and 3 because we want to talk about it with everybody. There goes 2 more hours after you're talking. Then you start talking about personal stuff, blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, because this is real. This is what really happened. And then we sit at the end of the week, oh, we're broke. I only closed 1 deal at the end of the month. You got to start being real. Tony Robbins talks about this. A lot of top leaders come into your reality. You gotta come to a realization. It's like stop and really think about what did you really do, you know? There's also that part of accountability, right? I need to accept. It's okay. I need to accept that I did these things, so I have the results that I asked for, right? If I didn't Legion, I pity party for 3 hours, and then we start calling everybody and their mother, and then we're wondering why we still have the business that we still have.
100%. Thank you, Lizette. And you know, Lizette always has a way of creating that balance. I don't know how she does it, but she does it through work life and friendships and through a church and her organization. So thank you. Liz,
Hi, guys. Good morning.
don't be cussing at my friend Deep anymore.
I'm not. I love him. He knows, like, and I will tell you, like, it's a working thing, right? Because it's not something that you're going to be able to do overnight. But one thing that stood out to me for quite some time, and Tom, I believe you know, when we were back at our previous organization, you said it all the time, and you said it this morning, like, when you start getting into a certain level of production, you have to prepare for fallout. That's just what it is. The more transactions you do, you're going to have fallout. But just like Tom said, like, if you have 10 pending and 5 fall through, you're still good because your bills are covered. So the only way to be able to fight that and to not get emotionally involved is to get more under contract. Really and truthfully, I think, like, there's nothing else to say about that. And it's true. I get emotionally involved with my clients because I want the absolute best for them. I want to get them this, I want to get them that, but I have to take my emotion out of it and say, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about them. So what can I do? What is my professional opinion? They're coming to me on an emotional side because they need me to make a logical they need me to give them a logical answer. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, you always need that one person that you can fall on and go, hey, I think I'm getting too emotionally attached to this. What do you think? Here's the situation, right? So you can't do this alone. There's a lot of practice, like Deep said, it takes a lot of practice and time, especially if you are someone who gets emotionally attached. I always hear people, I always say, hey, what brought you into real estate? I want to help people. I want to help people. No, you wanted to get paid. You want to earn a great living. That's why you're in real estate. So yes, you want to help people, but come on, the real conversation is, how do I make money? How do I best represent people without, see, when you put the word help in there, you're starting to get the emotional side. Ali, are you still there, bud?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Ali, I mean, the emotional attachment, the emotional connection, how do you handle the side with your team and the emotional part of it? What are your best practices that you do to keep it strictly on the business side?
You've got to do a couple of things, and this is my framework for it. And this is something that I've kind of experienced over the past 10 years of real estate and just past, almost 20 years of being in corporate America as well. The first thing you have to do is, I like to look at analogies, right? So when you're going to take a trip, what you're doing before you take your trip is, in your mind, or maybe you write it down, as you start putting everything that needs to happen, everything that you need to bring with you, and you start thinking about contingencies, right? Why, if my trip gets delayed, I'm going to need an extra pair of clothes? Why, if this happens? Why, if that happens? You start needing to kind of journal those things. And that's why I think is critical when you're doing real estate or mortgage or insurance sales, any type of commission sales, is you need to keep a journal of how a transaction went, because the signs of a transaction falling apart are apparent very clearly after the fact. However, there was warning signs while you were in the transaction. So having that journal allows you to create kind of a standard operating procedure, similar to what like an airline pilot would have, so that when you are in that point where the transaction is not going the way you want, it's going sideways, it's falling out, you have something to refer to know how to handle that. And in times of emergencies, when your emotions are high, the last thing to do is try to wing it. You should go back and take a look and say, okay, last time, for example, the appraisal came back lower. This is what happened. The inspection issue was this. This is how we resolved it, so that you can train and share the information with not only your sellers and buyers, but everybody else involved, so that everybody is focused on a solution versus getting their emotions and trying to point fingers at what's going on, because none of that's going to help in terms of solving the situation, getting everybody to the same common goal. And then the other thing that I keep in my mind all the time is I've learned from other business leaders several things that I remind myself. Number one, it takes what it takes. What that means is that no matter what you think, you're not entitled to closing just because you have a listing or just because you have a buyer. You have to really do what it takes, no matter how different than it is from last time, to get that deal to close, to try and exhaust every last possible option, and don't give up until it truly is dead. And so that's one thing that I always keep in mind, is it takes what it takes. And in real estate specifically, the one thing we don't get trained on and we need to teach our buyers and sellers is the emotional side of it. Because I feel like a lot of times if you don't train them that it will be an emotional process, they will use emotions as a way to create resentment, not only towards you, but towards the opposite party, like the buyer or seller, because they say, well, this buyer did not sign this in time, so I'm not going to let them have XYZ. And that resentment just is not necessary, and it just creates more emotion and more headache and turmoil to the deal. So having that understanding is going to definitely help. And then lastly, what I think you definitely need to do is you need to make sure that how you show up in one thing is typically how you show up in everything. If you drive and you're constantly emotional and honking at people and swearing at people, that's how you're going to react when something goes wrong in a transaction. It's how you're going to react when you're at home with your kids or your spouse or with anyone else. So you have to really balance out your life. You have to get your physical and mental health there, your diet, and it's not easy. It's something you have to train every day. And it goes back to that, it takes what it takes to be able to do that, because once you do that, get that under control, business becomes a lot more smoother. And when the headaches or the fallout happens, you're much more prepared to handle that, both emotionally and mentally. And that's just going to help your business overall, especially with all the people involved in the transaction.
I love that. It takes what it takes. And Ali, you set it up perfectly, right? Here's one of the things that I see that's the biggest emotional distraction for realtors is realtors. I make an offer to Deep. I work with the buyer. Deep's the listing agent, and I submit an offer 100,000 below his list price, and he gets mad. He gets mad. Then I get frustrated with Deep. Oh my gosh, this guy's a jerk. Now it's about him and I. Now we got a ego thing going on between him and I that's going to screw it up for the buyer and the seller. Deep has no idea what that seller will take when he sees the offer. Zero. So when you're working with a buyer or seller, you have to be very, very tactical on how you approach it. You got to approach it very tactfully. Hey, Deep, this is Tom. We are submitting an offer. It's going to be much lower than what you have it listed at. And please just submit it to the seller. Let us know what the seller thinks. And I'd love to see what the buyer thinks when the seller comes back. Be very tactful. But if you're very standoffish as you submit this, oh my gosh, you're way overpriced. Here's an offer. You're creating a problem before anything even starts. So be very tactful.
And Tom, one other thing on that, especially when you're submitting offers, or you're like, say, for example, if you're on the buyer side, you're submitting an offer, call that listing agent, schedule a time in their calendar, say, hey, can I have 10 to 15 minutes on the phone, and go through what questions you need to ask on what your offer is going to be. For example, how many days inspection is your seller looking for? How soon do they need to move out? Are they in a rush to move out, or do they need more time? Because a lot of times if you're offering, and let's say it's below asking price, it's not maybe the price that they want, but if you could meet the other conditions they want, they're more favorable to your lower offer or whatever that is. because it's not always about money. A lot of times it's about timing. It's about being able to coordinate a sale and a buy side. Maybe they're building a brand new home and the builder might not have delays, but having that conversation with the listing agent and really getting them on your side is going to help tremendously. Same thing with your lender, with your inspection company, with your title company, all those people. If you have those conversations ahead of time and be prepared, so when you do make an offer, it's not like you're just emailing it randomly. I hate when we get a random offers in an email and they had never talked to us. They've never give us a call and say, hey, here's what we're going to offer. Here's how it is. Here's my buyer situation. A lot of those things that could potentially be things that are emotional can be either taken care of up front or just never come up if you had done that. And then on the listing side, if you're listing in the MLS, have a Word document that outlines, here's how many days inspection our seller would like. Here's how much they would want in earnest money. Here's how much they need in terms of days to close. Here's what will happen if we need an extension. Here's what will happen, so that everybody's on the same page and you eliminate a lot of that emotional back and forth. Especially most agents get they take it personally. Like, for example, if somebody's asking for an increase in number of days of inspection or anything, don't take it personally. Let's find out what is causing that need, and let's explain that to our sellers ahead of time so we can all get to the same place where a transaction can happen. Because if a transaction doesn't happen, it's not just hurting the agents, it's really hurting the buyer and seller who are really counting on that, and it's impacting their life.
Let me piggyback on Ali, because Ali.
Yeah,
nailed
Dee,
it.
go ahead. This is,
I was gonna,
this-
yeah,
guys, this is so,
I was gonna jump in before Ali said that part. I was gonna say the same thing. I think the emotion part we get involved with when you are representing a buyer or a seller is, end of the day, the whole scoop of things is we all have to be on the same page when it comes to a buyer or the listing agent, a buyer's agent, buyer, everybody. So the problem we see, and Ali, I know 100% agrees. That's the first thing I do. If any of my team members says, oh, we're going to put an offer, I'm like, on who? I go on MLS, look up the agent. Do I know the agent? I Google it. Have I sold any transaction with them? No, we haven't. I said, we're going to call. Why? I said, we're going to create a relationship. Hey, Tom, how are you? Amazing listing. My buyer loved it. I think we're going to put an offer. Not really sure where we're going to be at. Is there anything your seller really needs? You change the conversation. Now you're coming from somewhere, connecting with the seller, seller's agent. He realized, oh shit, this guy's gonna be a team player to play with. Hey, looks like it was under contract before and it fell apart. Any insights you can give me? Oh, the financing fell through. How was the inspection? Oh, we had minor issues. People don't realize, in my team, people call the agent and they get zero out of that conversation. And I call 10 minutes later, I get the whole story. Come from connecting. Don't talk, go straight to the deal. Hey, Tom, how you doing? How's things? How's real estate? Oh, yeah. Oh, beautiful listing. Connect. It's people take the damn emotions out. It's connecting. And at the end of the day, it's the deal that you want to come clean with you, especially when you're representing the buyer in this crazy market. So Ali was 100% right. It's I don't go as much as Ali does, setting up a time. I'll call, if I get him on a call, I have a 5 to 8 minute conversation and I let my team members listen to it. I'm like, this is what it is. He's like, oh, I just asked him the same question 5 minutes ago. I said, you're here. I'm not making it up.
yeah.
It's all about how you come across, right? End of the day, it's a relationship you're creating for this transaction, because you go under contract from now, you have 45 days you got to work with this individual. He could be the biggest a-hole out there, but the 45 days is going to be difficult. So how do you do it? You make the best out of it, put your right foot forward and do the right things.
I love it. So yes.
I- I
hold
was
on.
going to say, can I say something
Yeah,
too?
go ahead, Liz. Go ahead.
I was going to say something that I do that may help you guys. Like, I work with a lot of investors and they're coming in significantly lower. And I just let them know, like, hey guys, we're on the same team. I let them know, I'm like, look, we're on the same team. Our goal is to get this transaction to close for our buyers and sellers. So just like Deep in Ali said, like have a conversation with them, ask them what's important to the seller, and I'll sometimes say, other than price, what other key terms are important to your client or to your seller in order to get this done. And just like they said, it's not always price. And just kind of building that relationship with what Deep said is just letting them know you're on the same team. It's not about a demeasuring contest. It's not about who can get the best deal. It's how can we get this done for the client so that they can move on with their life. So that's something that I do, and it works very effectively. Like there's times where you have to submit offers 100,000 under list price. And it's just like, I don't want you to think that, if it's priced correctly, I'm like, look, I have a legal obligation to submit all offers that my buyer asked. So I'm just giving you the heads up before. I don't want you to think I'm this crazy agent that didn't do their work and I'm just submitting anything. I just want you to know that this is coming and preparing them for it. So that right there, it's a completely different dynamic with the agent. So it's not like, oh my God, who's this crazy person? Why the hell would they submit an offer 100,000 under list price, blah, blah, blah. And you already have that bad report. When you set the expectation and set the tonality of the conversation and the relationship in the beginning, it's completely different.
Agree. This is so critical. And Claire put something into the chat. Remember, we have an ethical obligation. We have to follow the laws of real estate, right? It doesn't say get your emotion in a way to screw up the deal, because I will promise you this, your emotion will mess it up, because you're going to say something you're going to regret, you're going to do something you're going to regret, and it's going to be the wrong thing. Karen knows this because she's probably heard it over and over, right? So an agent calls me yesterday. He goes, I had the hardest time with this title attorney. I said, well, what happened? Well, she was this and this and this. I said, was she efficient and got the job done? He goes, yes. I said, maybe she was having a bad day. He goes, you know what? I'm going to call her and ask her. It's not about you. See, because someone comes across a certain way doesn't mean they don't like you or they don't care about you or they're not respecting you. Take your ego out of the way. You got to. Trust me. It's one of the hardest things I have to do every day. Every day. I have to stop, pause, and think, because I never used to. I used to just, now that's why I have a big fat bottom lip. This is what I do. I bite it. And I just turn around. So awesome. Robert.
Tom, one last
go
question.
ahead.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. Sorry, Robert. The one thing that I always kept in mind that I learned very early on in real estate was that in the stock market, insider trading is completely illegal and you go to jail and wear an orange jumpsuit for it. In real estate, insider trading is absolutely encouraged and it's not illegal. So you can get all the information you want up front. You can ask, you can, find out why they're moving, have inside deal as to what's happening. All that is encouraged because that helps you have a smooth transaction and avoid a lot of the pitfalls.
I love that. Robert, I've seen your hand up first. Do you want to jump in before Karen or?
Yeah, I want to actually jump on what Ali was saying, and I dropped a document over there. I always put together, and Ali, I know you do this, basically offer instructions. Before you get an agent on the other side calling you, asking you who's a title, what do they want for escrow? Start to define it up front and put it in the document right into the MLS. So when they say, hey, I need to make an offer, because they all want you to tell them all the information, I said, go to the MLS, it's already all there. But now you can start defining escrow payments. Enough of arguing over, oh, they want to put $1,000 and we want 10,000. We start to put out there what the seller's preferences are to kind of give them a guide. And it helps the agent on the other side to make that offer easier and cleaner. And then it helps our side knowing that they're starting to meet the terms and conditions that are more favorable to an acceptable offer. So I just wanted to jump on top of that with Ali.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Robert, that's really important because the other thing we've started doing now is that when you have a listing, we not only have all the addendums in there like the HOA or lead-based paint filled out already, but now we're going to take an as-is contract and completely fill it out as the seller side with earnest money, inspection, everything, and upload it into the documents in the MLS as well. because there's a lot of new agents who might struggle to find out what document to use or anything, but we've already got the as-is contract right there. You can always cross off, earnest money inspection days and submit it, but a lot of times do that legwork up front will definitely help. And it's just a good guide point for any agents who don't have the experience to, find out what form they need to use or how to fill out all the boxes in that contract to have it.
Absolutely, Ally. How many times do we have to have a conversation with the agent on the other side? And we've all done it. How many times, Ally, have you basically said, let me just write the contract for you. I'll send it over for you. I mean, we
Yeah,
do it. Deep, you're
exactly.
shaking your head, right? Because we're just so
Exactly.
frustrated that no one trained them properly. They just
Yeah, or-
don't know how to do it.
I think it's not even frustrating. It's pretty sad that they've got their license out there and the broker they're representing or the broker they're working for has not trained them that well, or they haven't got that. And they could lose their license and get the broker under same problems. That's the sad part. And I really feel bad for them. They're trying their best to make the first deal, but when they don't even know where to write and how to write. And when you talk to the agents, they ask them and they're like, oh, that's what the broker said. Put the wrong dates, and when you go under contract, we can renegotiate that. I'm like, who the hell does that? Be upfront, come with the right foot forward from starting, put a game plan in place, put a roadmap. How are we going to get there? Not like all of a sudden, oh, in the middle of Daytona, we're just going to go this way and we're going to go to Jacksonville. No, have a game plan in place. It's pretty sad, but that's what we're dealing with. And I love it. That's what's going to, in the next 6-8 months, we'll have 300,000 more agents will be gone out of business. So it'll be making much easier for us.
And from our standpoint, I mean, I know you guys, maybe the rest of you is like that email that comes from compliance that said, hey, someone forgot to check box A, because we worked with, Deep, you're laughing, right? Because we worked with an agent that didn't know how to write the contract, that didn't have the right addendums, that didn't have all the signatures, that didn't have all the wording, that tried to stuff a $1,247 fee into it that's not for our sellers, that's for their buyers, that did all these things that we have to clean up. So Ally, yeah, I'm with you. I think I'll just start writing the contracts completely and put them out there.
But Karen, hold on one second.
And
Karen-
fire bars, and only fire bars.
Yeah, yeah, Karen, hold on one second. Ask, you can ask the other agent, hey, do you have a good real estate attorney? Well, what do I need that for? For when you get sued for not knowing what you're doing. Because this is, and I'm being serious, remember when you went through real estate school, how scary it is if you do something wrong, the liability involved. This is what your broker's put the situation your broker has just put you in. I'm going to help you, but this is what your broker did. This is the broker you chose. So go ahead, Karen.
Hi,
Nobody knows
Tom.
this stuff more than Karen. She teaches it at a very high level for the schools.
But I feel like you're talking directly to me, Tom. I get way too emotional in everything I do. Not so much from the commission standpoint, but from not just, and putting my, experience into a transaction, but having my heart in every transaction and loving my customers and making sure that everything I do is in their best interest. I guess when it gets really emotional is when I'm trying to help them and they don't listen. And it's usually when things are going sideways and, you don't want to say, I told you so, but there's just so many situations where they just don't listen to advice. They don't declutter. They don't, do the things that you want them to do to get them the highest price. And it gets so frustrating, but you have to take a deep breath, like you said, step back and take the emotion out. It is business and it's their property. So if they want it shown like it is, somebody may like it. It's just, if it doesn't sell, it's usually our fault. And that's when it gets emotional again, because yes, we do try to help them in every aspect of selling a house, buying a house. But sometimes when you step back, whatever's meant to be will happen.
That's right. Hey, Curtis, I know you jumped in here and you heard quite a bit. What kind of wisdom and advice would you give from your perspective based on running market centers and coaching and all that too? Based on what you heard, being emotionally connected or emotionally attached or getting in the way of the transaction because of the emotion.
Well, I think you guys all said it. I mean, you have to have an awareness around it. Look, the reality is that, emotions are disruptive. They're disruptive to all of us, and they just sort of show up, right? Without our consent. Like they just show up, and we do get so involved in these transactions. And what I see is that we react, oftentimes we react not properly. And that's the part that we can control, is how we react. So we have to have that awareness around our emotions. And somebody just said, you know, take a step back, take a deep breath. Again, tough to do. And yet we've got to manage our emotions. And then again, how we react, how we then move forward. I heard things like, well, if you've only got one deal and you don't have enough, 10 other ones in your pipeline, well, that hurts, that sucks. I get it. I think what we have to do is you've got to stay focused on the task at hand. And so, we're all in business. You're running a business, and so you lose a deal. Great. So what's your reaction to that? Are you going to stay all emotionally involved and down for the next couple of days? And that mean lead gen went out the window for the next week and a half? No. We get up, you're still running a business. You still have to lead generate. You still have to call this next person. You still have to go do the thing, whatever that might be. And so it's extremely important. I just pulled out, because you guys were talking about this, and of course I jumped on, is that book, that I've brought up so many times, Selling in a Crisis. And it actually says right here, and I'm just going to read this little blurb. It says, control your emotions. Selling in a crisis can push you to the edge of emotional extremes. These emotional extremes become your Achilles heel. Unmanaged, they betray you, make you weak, cause you to lose self-control, make it impossible for you to effectively influence buyers who are likely to be impacted by similar emotions. We're in that environment right now. I think we all feel it. Rates, we don't know if rates go up, they go down. Like, I don't know, yesterday I was on with my mortgage people. I think it was like 7% or something ridiculous. We haven't had that for I don't know how many years, right? The brutal truth is that every sales conversation, the person who exerts the greatest emotional control has the highest probability of achieving the desired outcome. To effectively engage and influence buyers in an economic downturn, by the way, that's where we are, you must master and rise above the disruptive emotions that can produce destructive behaviors that fog focus, cloud situational awareness, cause irrational decision-making, lead to misjudgment, and erode confidence. And then it goes on to talk about there's 7, sort of emotions that show up. And when they do, they steal your thunder. And so we've got to have this awareness around it. We've got to manage our emotions. We've got to stop reacting in such a way that quite honestly might be detrimental to what we're trying to do. So anyway, I don't know if that helps anybody.
That was awesome. Yeah, it goes right. That's why I loved when you jumped in there, Curtis. Thank you for that, because selling in a crisis might be something to pull back out, guys. I read it twice and maybe need to do it again. It talks solely about your emotion and how to get to achieve the goal. So selling in a crisis. Thanks for that. All right, this is your time, guys. Karen, are you next, and then Lizette, or your hand's still up? Okay. Lizette?
Yeah, so I also wanted to share that, the experience you give people, like it's all about how you make people feel. I used to hear that all the time and training. It's so true. It's about how you make people feel. Do you understand that people will come back to you? And this is including your circles, your friends, your family. People will gravitate towards you in the correlation of how you make them feel. And typically, another thing, if you're constantly like stressed out and dramatic, you're putting that energy all around you without knowing, your kids, your wife, your spouse. And then, then the other thing is you're gravitating drama, right? Like so typically I've noticed too, it's like, you're like, oh my God, why my world is so dramatic? Well, maybe because you're attracting dramatic people because you're dramatic too. Sorry, I think my whole screen went out. I was like talking. So I think that was like, I don't know if it was God or whatever, but anyway. So I want to put that out there because I know we're talking about real estate and lead gen and all this stuff, but a lot of it really has to do with you, taking a mirror. I vent, I might call Tom 5 minutes and I time myself 3 minutes. I'll vent quickly, get it out of my system and keep going, right? But you got to time yourself with all these things because sometimes, but the other thing is, if you have people around you that are constantly, oh yeah, and they're not really calling you out on these things, they're not your friends. All right. They're not your real coworkers. You need people to call you out on all this junk because this is what's really hindering you from having your best life and being able to come back home and bring the bread and butter to your house.
That's what's important.
All right. At the end of the day, if you're not really bringing the bread and butter to whatever you want to bring it to, then really there's something's wrong in this whole thing that you're doing daily.
I like bread and butter, by the way.
Oh, and I brought out this book. Hold on, let me take out the video to choose the virtual background. There, the Be Our Guest. The Disney, it's like, you know, how to give an amazing experience. I'm not there yet. I mean, honestly, I'll be truthful. But if we focused on bringing that perspective to everybody in our co-brokes, our business partners, even your house, you want to try it out, do it at your house. Your kids are not going to fight with you. Do the Be Our Guest motto in your house and see how that's going to change your environment.
What was that?
I don't know. I hear a lot of texting. With
Who are you
that,
texting, Tom? Who are you texting? Curtis or Claire? Or Liz?
I did. I returned a text from my computer, so.
Tom, the
what-
other thing I want to talk about emotions when we talk about, you know, I know we talked about individual deals and individual agents. And we got a bunch of, you know, upcoming agents who are going to be a team leader soon. So they want to add people on their team. And that's rule number one, take the emotions out.
Yes,
Liz is on my team and I have a goal for Liz that she's going to do 10 transactions and she's only coming up with 2 and she's happy with that. I have to accept that. I can't make myself go nuts over something that she does not want. You can help her, guide her. You can show her the ropes. You can show her, you know, like what they say, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink the water. So I hear that a lot. Like, you know, people, they're part of a team. They're like, oh, they're happy with one transaction and this and that. It's not. That's what they want. And when they're getting it so emotionally involved, that's affecting their own production. It should not. You're running a business. Even team building is a business. No different. You've just started a second entity. Only way to put it. Curtis is smiling. Oh boy.
it's so true.
Can I bounce off of that, Tom?
Bounce.
Go ahead, Curtis, because you came off mute first.
All I was going to say was you put it in the chat. Stop reacting and start responding. Go ahead.
And so these are ways that we are seeing all the different behavioral styles, all the different personality styles, and being able to make sure that we're speaking our other person's language. You know, and Deep, you put the mic drop and mic drop, say it all the time. You know, it has to do with each and every person that we come in contact with. Are we best at analyzing what that other person needs? We can be passionate about our businesses without being reactionary. We can be passionate about the people that we're serving without being codependent. So if we are placing our needs of being liked or being loved ahead of the needs of the people that we're serving, that is our ego. That is easing God out. However, if we are truly being that servant leader and placing their needs ahead of ourselves and responding in kind to their language, we're in a better position for all people to not be reactionary and to respond well. That's all.
Are we attacking Liz?
We damn sure better not be. I'll eat your ass.
Mateo's starting trouble.
Consider
Liz,
the
I'm
source.
being kind to you this
Scandalous.
morning. I haven't done a
It's
thing.
okay. It's okay. I can take it.
All right, guys, this is your time. I gotta jump off here in a minute. But great call. Thanks for the collaboration.
Thank you, Tom.
Deep thanks for all the input, Ali, Curtis, and everyone, Karen, Lizette, even you, Liz.
Don't forget about your 10 o'clock appointment.
I do have a 10 o'clock appointment. I will not forget about it. It is in my calendar.
Thanks for leading another great Friday session, Tom. We really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks for the input and thanks for the form, by the way. And Ali, you know, I never thought of having a pre-filled contract out, you know. That was a big aha, so.
I'm not sure if anybody noticed the new as-is contract that's been updated as of July 1st. That's the only damn contract there. So now they can't mess up.
Yeah, well, you gotta make sure you use that new one. And
No, it doesn't on at least on transaction desk. That's the only contract. Before they had old as is and the new one when it was made some changes. And then third one, no, not anymore. MLS took
I
that.
have dot loop and they just updated it. So it's, you guys have to make sure you're using the revised contract effective July 1st.
And guys, get some education on what the new laws are. You gotta understand that with foreign sellers, you really gotta pay attention to that. Get with your title company or you know, the state broker and really get to understand what those changes are for the state of Florida. It's for the state of Florida, not, I don't think it's countrywide.
Yeah, but we got to be careful on those contracts. I'm gonna have to go pull NEFARs to see what they did about this because, you know, they're out on their own with one attorney that creates their forms.
Yeah, and that's a great point because if they don't make that correction in there, or that update, that could be detrimental to the sale for sure.
NEFAR has not updated the contract as of yet.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Good.
not
So
good.
now they're putting us all at jeopardy. I'll go have a talk with them today.
100%.
But also be aware, if you get a contract effective July 1st or whenever that went in, take a look. A lot of agents have local copies of their documents. I can't tell you how many times I look at forms and they're 3 or 4 years old. And I have to tell them that it's not a current form. So I always look at the dates on them.
That's, yeah.
And-
that's fun.
And for those of y'all that may be a little bit newer and you want to make sure that you have the most recent form, if you look at the bottom of your forms, it gives the date of when that document was, what is it, the Karen, the right, ratified or approved?
Revised. I think
Revised. Yeah,
it's the
so
revision date.
just make sure that you are using, because I know that Tom, myself, and Curtis and Debbie were in a meeting with Ann, our broker, and she was stressing the fact that we're placing ourselves in jeopardy as associates and making sure that we use the correct forms for compliance purposes. Because
Those,
when you put it into SkySlope, they're going to kick it back to you. So might as well do the job first, not twice.
and the condo addendums are another really, really big one. People are using the old HOA forms and everything else. So significantly changed. So be aware. I got to bounce. I might be back.
I'm trying to stop the recording and